In business, you get no love if you stink. Your hygiene, your grooming standards need to be perfect, and I'm going to share with you my 7-step checklist for personal hygiene, and you should go through this checklist every day before you go out into the business world. Join me for this episode of the Do This, Sell More show. Hi, I'm Dave Lorenzo, and today we're talking about your personal hygiene. Now, I know it is cool to go and look at social media and see guys dressed like Gary Vee, super casual, or guys dressed like Grant Cardone, who's most of the time in a casual shirt and slacks. Those folks look great. They're multimillionaires. They're super successful. You want to be like them, so you're going to dress like them. That's not cool. Here's the deal. They can do whatever they want because they've got a ton of money in the bank and they don't need to impress anybody because they're already well known. You and me, we got to impress people every day. And what we look like says a lot about who we are. So our grooming, our hygiene, our look always has to be perfect. Now here's the bottom line. When it comes to personal hygiene, nobody is going to accept a person who stinks. I guarantee no matter how rich and successful you are, if you stink, people are going to be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to hang around that guy. He doesn't even know how to wash his own behind. Why am I going to do business with him? So let's start our 7-step checklist with just that. Let's talk about hygiene and we'll go from head to toe. The first thing you need to focus on is your hair. You can have an extreme style if you work in an industry that accepts extreme styles. So if you work in fashion, an extreme style on your hair is fine. But if you sell to bankers, you better have a very conservative hairstyle, and your hair needs to be very well groomed. If you're a lady, you need to visit a salon on a regular basis, and your hair needs to be generally all the same color. Your hair, if you're a gentleman, needs to be at collar length or above, unless you're in the music industry and there's an industry acceptable hairstyle that you can potentially have. But in corporate America, your hair needs to be neatly groomed above the collar, and it needs to be washed and combed. Do not go out to see clients if you haven't washed your hair in 3 days. 3 days is about the grease limit for anyone's hair that could be acceptable. I would encourage you to wash your hair every day if possible. Now, ladies, I know there are certain hairstyles where it's easier to manage and they look better if you haven't washed it in a while. Here's the bottom line. If you're meeting with me and I can tell you haven't washed your hair in a week, that's not good, no matter what the hairstyle is. So step number 1, hair on your head, well groomed, look like you have a plan, and it has to look like it's acceptable in the business, in the industry that you're in. Now let's talk about facial hair. Facial hair for women, unfortunately, is not going to be something that anyone is going to respond well to. I'm not trying to be sexist. You got to do something about your facial hair if you're a woman. If you're a man, facial hair it must be perfectly groomed, impeccable. I am personally not a big fan of facial hair. If you want to have a mustache and a beard, it needs to look like it is a very well-trimmed hedge. Long beards are not acceptable. Unkempt beards are not acceptable. And if you're going to have a beard, make sure it doesn't have any crumbs or food particles in it. Believe me, I've seen it all. I've seen people show up with crumbs or with stuff in their beard. No way. Facial hair, I prefer that you don't have it, but if you have to have it, make sure it's neatly groomed and it's impeccable. That's the second step in our 7-step checklist, facial hair. Avoid it, but if you have to have it, make sure it looks good. Step number 3, your mouth. Do whatever you can to limit any odor from your mouth. This means brushing your teeth 2 to 3 times a day. After each meal, that's what the dentist recommends. Dental floss. Use dental floss at the end of the day, in between your teeth. Brush your tongue. Use mouthwash. Use a mouthwash that your dentist or hygienist recommends and use it multiple times a day. If you're on the road and you have a car, keep mouthwash in your car. Use the mouthwash liberally. Keep toothpaste and a toothbrush in your car. Use them at every rest stop that you go into. You can even put it in your briefcase and use it before the meeting. Your breath is a function of good hygiene. If you do what you can to minimize the possibility of bad breath, people will notice. If you brush your teeth right before a meeting, the person will notice. It's better for them to say, wow, that person smells like they just brushed their teeth, than wow, that person smells like they just ate a poop sandwich. The other thing I will tell you is your intake of food will have a big bearing on the smell that comes out of your mouth. If you know you have an afternoon appointment with a big prospect, do not go out and eat a ton of Mexican food before the big meeting. Do not go out and eat a ton of garlic before the big meeting. Eat a salad, and eat a salad with a conservative dressing that's not going to stink up the place, and then brush your teeth after. Step 3 in our 7-step checklist, manage your mouth so that you do not offend with your odor. Step 4 in our 7-step checklist, your body odor. Everyone stinks if they sweat. If you're perspiring, if it's hot out, you're gonna stink. Make sure you're wearing antiperspirant as well as deodorant. In case you don't know, deodorant and antiperspirant are two different things. Antiperspirant and deodorant go under your armpits. Rub them under there to make sure you don't emit an odor. If you're working out in a gym, you always have to shower afterward. You want to go to the gym at lunchtime in the middle of the day? No problem. Make sure you bring your hygiene equipment with you to shower and use antiperspirant and deodorant after the gym. It's always helpful to carry a small bottle of cologne or perfume with you and make sure you spray very slightly on yourself before the meeting so that if you do happen to perspire a little bit, the smell of the perfume will hopefully mask your whatever odor will come out of you. I know if you're in a city and you travel on mass transportation, you can perspire during the summertime, so it can be a little rough. A little spray of perfume outside before you enter the building will probably go a long way to helping mask that little odor that may come from whatever it is that's going on. But good hygiene, showering every day before the meeting is imperative. Using deodorant and antiperspirant, also imperative, okay? Now, the next step in our checklist is how you dress. You need to dress to impress every time. If you're speaking at a conference and they tell you the conference is casual, dress a step up. Wear a sport jacket and slacks. Don't just wear a shirt and slacks. If they tell you that it's a business meeting and it's business dress, that means shirt and tie. I wear a jacket everywhere, and the reason I wear a jacket everywhere is because I have a little bit of a belly. I try to cover the belly with the jacket, and I always look better in a jacket than I do without a jacket on. I wear my jacket to all meetings. Most of the time, I'm in a shirt and tie, unless they specifically tell me do not wear a shirt and a tie to the meeting. The next step in our checklist is your shoes. Gentlemen, your shoes always need to be polished. You always need to polish your shoes. They always need to look good. Your shoes should not look like you were just running through the snow and you have salt residue on the side. You need to at least, if you're outside and you're not wearing different shoes and changing when you go in the building, you need to at least have a rag in your briefcase that you can wipe off your shoes and buff them up a little bit before you walk in. People notice people who shine their shoes these days. Do not wear casual shoes with a business suit. Make sure your shoes match your suit. Ladies, if you need to wear open-toed shoes, make sure your toes look good. I can't tell you how often I see women with open-toed shoes who have pterodactyl toe, or women who have open-toed shoes and the polish on their nails, on their toes is awful. People will notice this. If you're going to wear closed-toed shoes, they don't have to be fashion forward. They just have to be clean. They have to be acceptable based on what you're wearing, and they have to look like their business attire. Ladies, for your outerwear, you should look like you are going to a conservative business meeting. You never should look fashion forward, unless you're in the fashion industry, and you never should look like you're going to a club. The final element that I want to share with you today is your behavior when you first meet the person and your first impression. Your first impression needs to be that you look the other person in the eye and you extend your hand in a handshake. I want you to extend your hand in a handshake at just below eye level, and you look the person in the eye, and then you say, "Nice to meet you, pleasure to meet you, happy to meet you," something along the lines of, "It's an honor to meet you," and you shake the person's hand with a firm grip while looking them in the eye. Hold their hand for approximately 1 to 2 seconds, up and down pump once, and then you release. If they don't release, you can lower your hand gradually, and eventually they'll get the hint to release. Always shake hands. I live in Miami. I do business in Miami, and sometimes people will want to do the kiss hello. I don't do the kiss hello, especially in a business setting, because I don't want to ever make a mistake and be inappropriate. I encourage you to not do the kiss hello either. If someone comes in to do the kiss hello and they go like this, I take my hands and I gently put my hands right above their elbows, and then I slip my hand down and extend my hand to shake their hand. Nobody's coming in past that. I will extend my hand to shake their hand. I don't do the kiss hello, especially in a business setting, because I'm not sure if it's appropriate or if it's not appropriate. I don't know what the cultural norms are, and I don't want to take a chance. That's the grooming, the hygiene, and the initial meeting tips that I'm going to share with you today. And I share this with you as a public service because I've seen too many good people blow deals because of the way they looked, the way they've sounded, the way they've smelled. So do this and you'll sell more, but more likely do this and you'll offend less. Until tomorrow, I'm Dave Lorenzo. I hope to see you right back here on the Do This, Sell More show.